interview the elders of our church and the ones that can pass on their wisdom to us. And so our first one that we're going to do today is Sister Tyler. We love her and we respect her, and we're so thankful that she's willing to do this with us. So Sister Hannah is going to be manning the questions. So do you want to go ahead and get started?
Sure. So let's start with kind of your timeline, like your early life and when you came into the church and what led you to God.
Okay, I was raised AME, Methodist Church, and then of course, like any small community, the elder people passed away and the young people left because there was no opportunity. So therefore, I had no church to go to. And then my niece and nephew, Brother Axon ran a bus ministry here at Palmar from the Hannibal Church, and they, my niece and nephew invited me to a Sunday school Easter promotion. And so that's how I got started going to the Pentecostal church. I was, you can't refuse little kids because they're so excited about it. Well, we're going to get a prize, we're going to get this. So that's how Katina and I started going. So then we started riding the bus every day. Every Sunday. And then one day, one Sunday, Brother Axon came to me and he said, the Lord said, we need to pick you up for church on Sunday night. So they came up every Sunday night and picked Katina and I up for church. And so that's how I started going to the Pentecostal church. And then I got baptized, I think it was, I believe it was May 8th, I think, of 1979. And then I got the Holy Ghost. Oh, let's reverse that. It was in April I got baptized, and then I got the Holy Ghost in May 7th of 1979. And so then I started coming to church every Sunday. And then then they left because they got called away, and I started. Then Brother Bill Orr and Becky, they would come and pick us up on Sunday night, and then finally they moved. So then I had to start driving. Well, I had such a fear because back then I had such a fear of being on the highway at night by myself with a little girl in the car. I didn't mind Sunday morning, but and to the point where the fear got to the point where I just didn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So I made a promise to God. I said, if you will bring a church here to Palmar that I can work in, I will work till I can no longer work. So that's how I got started.
Wow.
In the church, and I made a promise to God that if you bring a church here, then I will work until I can't do it anymore. And so that's how I got started.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So Easter promotions work, and bus ministry is important. And if you make a promise to God to work until the end, you keep working.
Yes.
And I feel like that's why children's ministry means to me, because I was led through the Lord by a child, not an adult. It was children. They were so excited about they're going to get a candy bar. To them, that was, I got to bring my aunt and her daughter. So that's why children's ministry means so much to me, because I came to the Lord through a child.
Wow.
Not through an adult.
That's awesome. So what advice would you give to someone who's currently where you were when you started?
My thing was to be faithful.
Yes.
And to be faithful to God, be faithful to church. Above all things, be faithful in paying your tithes and offering. Be faithful to the pastor, pick his vision up, And there was times in my life when I thought, I can't pay tithes, or, I just can't do that, because I got this, I got that. But if you be faithful to God, God will be faithful to you. And there's sometimes when even your family will say, well, you don't need to go to church, but then you need to go. You need to be faithful, and your parent, your family, and everybody will honor you if you're faithful. And so you just be faithful, and God will take care of you. I know when I was sick, and I just had bills coming everywhere. And I thought, I can't do this. I can't pay my tithes. I got to pay this, and I got to pay that. And I thought, no, wait a minute. If I take care of God, He'll take care of me. So I paid my tithes. There was times when, I'd get on the phone and talk to people because I just didn't have the money.
Mm-hmm.
But then everything worked out. I owe nothing. All my medicine, everything was taken care of. But you got to be faithful. And you support the church. You support the pastor. You submit yourself to God. be submissive.
Yes.
And sometimes that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to always agree with the pastor, but he knows a little bit more than you do. God, shows him something that you don't know about. Sometimes you're gonna get upset because he said, if I was you, Sister Tyler, I wouldn't do such and such. Of course, we're gonna get mad, and I'll fall off. But then when we stop and think about it, he's a pastor, and God's probably showed him something. If he showed it to you, it would scare you half to death. So you just learn to submit, and if you submit, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
If you live for God hard, it's going to be easy. But if you live for him easy, it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make a commitment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to have to decide, this is what I want to do. And there's going to be rough times. I can guarantee you, it hasn't all been all, but God's still been faithful, and he's faithful. There's times when I wasn't faithful to him, and he still provided for me. I mean, I have never had my utilities turned off. Never. I've always paid my rent. I've always had food in my house. But I tell any person that starts, the first check that you write is your tithing.
Yeah.
You pay that first, your rent and your utilities, and everything else will take care of itself. But if you put God first,
Yes.
then you don't have to worry about it. You'll be all right.
That's good.
That is good. So you talked about Sunday school and working with the children being important to you, and you've done that in the church, and you did that in your career. You've worked with children a lot. What advice would you give to parents and Sunday school teachers about how to instill that love for God? And with you are always really great about bringing up some prayer warriors in our kids. So what would you tell parents and Sunday school teachers on how to help the children find that love and that joy?
First of all, you need to be consistent with them, and you need to tell them what you expect.
Yes.
And sometimes we confuse our children because one day it's okay, and then the next day, well, no, you can't do that, but you let me do it yesterday. Then Wednesday it's okay. We have to be consistent, and we're not consistent with our children. So they don't know. Tell them what you expect. This behavior is not acceptable. I will not accept this behavior. And then you have to also, if I tell the children, if they come in the office and they want candy, and they come, I want candy, I said, no, you need to say please. But now if I come in the office and tell Brother Axel, I want a piece of candy. Okay, how can I tell? I have to example to them.
Yes.
And the same thing if I'm in church and I'm worshiping, when I see them on the street, I have to speak soft. I have to speak. I can't be hollering and screaming at them, But you need to be consistent to your children. You need to teach them, set boundaries. We are making children make choices that they have no business making. We let them decide how they're going to behave in church. We don't set the boundaries.
Right.
And then when they get a little bit older, we want to set boundaries. Well, you have allowed them to do that. And if you don't tell them that it's wrong, it's just like your little child. They will color on that wall. And some people, will they outgrow it? No, they won't, because you have to tell them. That's not acceptable behavior. You do not write on the walls. And you keep repetition, and follow through. Don't threaten, And whatever the consequence, and always don't tell them it's a punishment. You tell them, for the choices you make, there are consequences, never punishment. Because that's such a harsh word, but you say, for every choice, there's going to be a consequence, whether good or bad. When you make a consequence for your children, first of all, do not be angry. And then second of all, whatever it is, make it so it does not harm you, because if it's going to affect you, you're going to change it. And if you change it, you've lost them.
Right.
You have to be consistent with the children. You have to show them love. You can love them and still reprimand them. You can be stern with them and say, this is not acceptable. This is what I expect. And when they come in the classroom, I expect you to sit down. I expect you to do this. Tell them. And children want to know, because they don't want to make all these choices, but we allow to, because we don't want to do it. You're not their friend. You are their authority, and it's hard to say no.
Right.
I mean, it's, sometimes I think, man, Sister Tyler, you was a little rough on them. You was kind of rough there. I had one little boy when I babysat, and he refused to tie his shoes. I know he refused to do it. And I said, fine. I said, so this is a choice. You choose. You will sit in this kitchen until you tie the shoes. And he's sitting in the bigger part of the day. And then finally, he tied the shoes. He come out and played. And so when his mother picked him up, I felt so bad. She said, but he tied those shoes, didn't he? I said, yes, he did. She said, then it's fine. But you have to be consistent with them.
Yes.
And just tell them what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I was downstairs with the kids, I would tell them, you come in, you sit down. And the same thing, even with some of the children are like 2.5 and 3, I'd say, now listen. Now you have a choice. See this chair? You can sit right here by Sister Tyler. Or you can go over and sit with the big kids. Now you have a choice. And they look at me like, man, we ain't gonna sit there. We're gonna sit over there. And I also tell the siblings when they got their younger siblings there, and I said, tell them when they get up out of their chair, pick them up, set them in the chair, and walk away. Don't say anything to them. And I said, when they get out, just pick them up and set them back in their chair and walk away. You don't need to say anything. They will figure it out. But once you start talking, excuse me, to them, and then once you start making excuses, the next, oh, well, they can't do it. Yes, they will. And after a while, they thought, well, we can't get out of this chair, so they will sit. But tell them what you expect and then follow through. Be consistent.
Yeah.
And you be consistent with your children, and they will be happy. That's why children like daycares. And parents can't understand. The reason why I like the daycares, they know at 8 o'clock we're going to eat. At 9 o'clock, we're going to go outside and play. At 11 o'clock, we're going to have lunch. At 12 o'clock, we're going to get on our mats and we're going to sleep until 2 o'clock. We're going to get up, we're going to have a snack, and then mommy and daddy's come. It's consistent. They know what is expected. And sometimes at home, our children are bored because we don't give them anything to do. We don't give them no structure. We don't give them nothing to do. So after a while, they get tired of the iPads. They get tired of watching videos. So we need to we need to find something to interact with them, do things with them. That's what they want, and they want to know, well, mommy, what am I, but you say, well, no, you can go to bed anytime you want. They shouldn't make that choice. They shouldn't have to make that choice. And of course they're going to, it's like I told one of the teachers, I said, they're not going to like you at first, but they're going to love you at the end.
Yeah.
And I have told the young people, I said, I will take the chance of you not liking me to tell you that this behavior is not acceptable, and I will not accept it. And I said, I'm going to take the chance that you probably won't like it, but that's fine. It's not going to change my life. But we just have to be consistent with our children. And same thing with Sunday school teachers. Be consistent. If it's wrong for Johnny, it's wrong for Susie. Don't because if you do, then your discipline is going out the door. And if you're, you come in with it, and stop your children. A lot of times we let them come to our boundaries. You stop them back here.
Right.
And I tell them, I said, don't even look at my boundaries. But we get, instead of stopping them, we wait till they get here or almost touching them or past them. And then we're out of control. And then once you start screaming and hollering at children, they shut you down.
Yeah.
And then you have lost. So you stop them back there before they start because they'll keep coming closer.
Oh yeah.
And closer and closer. And I tell them, don't even look at mine. I said, don't even look at my boundaries. Don't even look at them. So it's all in, it's all in what you want to do, and you're going to upset your kids, and they're going to get angry and upset with you. They're not going to, but you tell them, you may not love me, but I love you, and always, But please, whatever you do, please do not tell them it's punishment. Tell them it's consequences. And I think it's an easier word. So that's what I would tell you. To just be consistent with them and love them. And please give them boundaries. And you love your kids when you say no.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's very true. What was the hardest lesson that you've had to learn?
What was the hardest one? I had thought about that and I forgot what it was.
Did you learn it, Sister Tyler?
What was the hardest? Oh, sometimes the hardest thing, for me, and we won't go into it, is because of the culture and the time that I was raised. Sometimes it was hard for me to be submissive to a pastor because I never had to do that before. Because I was raised in a Methodist church and it's totally different. There was no. And there was some times when I thought,
That's me.
And but that was, that submission was the hardest thing because since not being married, I never had to submit to anybody.
Mhm.
And, you know, and even to the point where sometimes it was even hard with God because I never, you know, I did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. You know, and so, but that was a hard thing to learn, is how to be submissive and how to disagree with somebody, but still
Yeah.
be, you know, with a good spirit. Because I'm not going to agree with everything everybody says, but I also need to have a good spirit about it. And so, but that was hard. Submission was the hardest thing.
I would probably agree with that. I think I'm still learning that, because
Yeah.
submission is
Submission
not
is very
something
hard.
any of us want to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. You've been around for a while. You've known pretty much, well, you've known everybody that's come through the church since it started. Got a funny story or two to tell us?
Well, you know, there was one when we was on Lisa Road, and we were having I can't remember what, but we was having a dinner in the back part of, I don't know if y'all remember the church much on Lisa Road, probably not. But we was in the little room after the sanctuary was here, so we was back in we all had our plates, and we were just sitting around laughing and talking and having a good time. And Brother Pat Axton was leaning on the counter, and he said, you know, he said, Sister Tyler, look at that. He was going to say mouse hole, but all he got out was the word mouse. And he said, Sister Tyler, we did not know that you could move that fast. And, you know, all he's got out was just mouse. He was going to say, Sister Tyler, look at that mouse. I was out of there. And then another funny thing was, I was in the office, and I had locked the door, and I needed something out of the office, and I didn't
she'd tell this
have a
story.
key. So I thought, how am I going to get in the office, because Brother Axel's not home and I don't have the key. And I looked and I said, oh look, there's this table here.
Oh my.
And there's this window. So I climbed up on the table. And it was one of those little opening windows. Open up that window. And I shimmied in through that window.
I'd have loved to see that, right?
And I landed on by standing on the desk. I actually broke the desk standing on it.
Oh my goodness.
And then I went into the window, shimmied down, and then landed on the desk. And then I got in the office and got what I wanted. But I mean, it wasn't a very big window. And I just shimmied on in through it. I said, well, I needed what was in the office, and I didn't have no way to get it. I think I had locked my house keys and car keys and everything in the office.
You couldn't go anywhere or do
I couldn't do
anything.
anything. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to climb. That was not even ladylike. I mean, can you imagine with a skirt on and I'm climbing through the window? What if somebody that walks in?
There would have been all kinds of questions.
But that was the funniest. And one other I was in the office talking to Sister Axon, and it was Amy. And we had trouble with mice, and so Amy came in the office, and we had caught one on a sticky trap. And she took that sticky trap and said, look here, Sister Tyler, the only thing that saved me was climbing in Sister Axe's after she had bought this little thing out. And so that stopped me, because I'd have been up in her lap. I said, yeah, look, Sister Tyler, look at this mouse. And he was moving in it with her. Oh. But we had some good times. We had some really good move of God out on that church. You know, it was amazing. You know, God has done amazing things since. I'm telling anybody, if you have an opportunity, working in a home missions church is wonderful. It's the best blessing you could ever have, and enjoy every second of it, because God intends for the church to grow, but at the same time, you just have a little more personal as a home missions. But you're supposed to grow, because that's the whole purpose of the church. But you have time to fellowship with these people. You have time to mold them and teach them, and that's what Brother Axton did for the first years. Taught. And if you teach people, then they will stay stable. And they will stay. You take the time. Small things, because Brother Axton always said, if you cannot be faithful in the small, then you will not be faithful. And that's what, when our Wednesday night children's, I'll tell this, when we first started, I only had one child, and that was Brianna. And we went, and every day I take her down, we do the lesson, we do the craft, we do the snack. And then when I left, we probably had 20, almost 30 plus kids.
Wow, yeah.
But you have to be faithful.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're faithful, same thing with anything. When you first come to church, if you're faithful in the little job that the Lord gives you, you know, maybe you just work a job making $7 an hour. If God sees what you're going to do with that, next thing you know, you got a job making $15 an hour. It's just all in being faithful with a little.
That's right.
You know, so
Okay, we got 2 more questions. First, let's get the spiritual one out of the way. Favorite Bible verse or Bible story?
My favorite Bible. Oh, where's my Bible at? Let me look those up. One of them is I wrote it down. I gotta break that down. I wrote those down. Just trying, where did I write those down? Because I remember writing them down.
Was it Micah 7 and 8?
Okay, Micah 7 and 8. Let me find that right quick. Anyway, here we go.
She found that really small book really quickly.
Something to learn, folks.
7 and 8. Well, this is a message, but it says, "Do not, enemy, crawl over me. I'm down, but I'm not out. I sit in the dark right now, but God is my light. I can take God's punishing rage. I deserve it. I'm a sinner." But what my favorite is about the enemy, how sometimes when you do something and the enemy's, look at that, see what happened there, yeah, you didn't do this and that. And I thought, no, don't rejoice, because I'm going to rise.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You know, I'm going to rise up out of this. I'm going to get up and I'm going to rise, and then God's going to give me light. I'm not going to be in this darkness. That was one of my favorites, because sometimes when I was when Palmar came, a lot of this, Pentecost was new to a lot of people in this community, and they had a lot of, they just didn't understand it. And so sometimes, they were very critical, and if you did something, oh, well, see, I thought you were this, that, and that. And I thought, no, it just, I'm human and I make mistakes, but I'm going to rise up out of this. And so that was one of my favorites, that no matter what the enemy does to you, you can rise above it, and then God's going to give you light to bring you up out of that darkness. So that, and then the other one was in Numbers. All right, let's find that one right quick. There we go. And Numbers was chapter 6. Okay. Just about there. This is not the Bible I normally use. 24. It says, "God bless you and keep you. God smile upon you and gift you. God look you fully in the face and make you prosperous." And so what it is it's a blessing, and I think it was a blessing that they blessed the children. They blessed the children of Israel. And a lot of times when I will write a person a letter, this is the scripture I'll put at the end. Lord bless you and keep you. Let His countenance shine and give you peace, because a lot of people do not have peace in their life, and that's what a lot of people are missing. And with all that's going on now, so many people are just, they don't have peace.
Yeah.
And they're afraid, they're frightened, and every time they turn on the radio, every time they look at their iPad, and people need peace. And so whenever I would send people a letter or a card, this is the scripture I put, that God will bless you and keep you and shine His light and give you peace. And so those are my favorite too.
That's awesome. Okay, this last question comes with a little bit of a story time for me. I will never forget we were at puppet practice, I think, and you were there working on the books or something, and we were chit-chatting, and you started talking about Power Rangers and the Wiggles and something else, and it just took me back, because you were talking so much about the Power Rangers and having these full-on conversations, and it surprised some of the kids, and some of them knew it about you, that you really liked the Power Rangers. So who was your favorite Power Ranger?
My favorite one was Tommy and Kimberly. And the reason why I liked them, when that first came out, they were like a team. They showed you how to work. If they didn't work as a team, they could never accomplish anything. And that was the purpose of the show, was to teach you, you work as a team. There's no big I, which is the Bible. Even the Bible teaches you that you work as a team. You work with God. You work with your pastor. You work with your Sunday school teachers. You work with your associate pastor. You know, they work as a team. And when they didn't work as a team, when one decided, you know, they wanted to get the glory, then it fell apart. And then they helped people, but nobody knew who they were. So they didn't want glory, they just wanted to help. And sometimes that's the same thing in the church. Yep. You know, if I'm going to help you, then I'm going to say, oh, guess what, you know, Sister Rosie needed food, so I went to the store and I bought her. I don't need to tell people that. Right. And so that's what they did as Power Rangers. Nobody knew who they were, and they didn't tell it. And they kept it secret. Because the point was, we're trying to help people, but we don't want praise. Yep. They didn't want praise for it. And that's where we need to be in a church. You know, if you do something for people, God will open. But I don't need to bring attention, everybody. Attention here. I just went to the store and bought these people some food. Here, look at me. See what I did for them. You know, and so that's why I like them, because to me they work. They encourage teamwork, teamwork. You know, not I, me. Look what I did. Or look, you know, I'm the. Even though Tommy was still the leader, he didn't. You know, he still. He led by example. Yeah. And so that's why I liked him. I just, you know, and then the Wiggles, I liked them because it was geared for the kids, and it just kept the kids active, you know. I mean, I thought they were cool. Yeah. I mean, I went to a couple of their concerts. I thought they were really cool, you know. So, and that's also great. Part. I had to also learn how to relate to children, and so I had related to children through the Power Rangers and through the Wiggles. I danced with them and all that like that. I mean, there were some children's things that I did not allow in my house, but the Wiggles and the Power Rangers, until it got a little bit crazy, then I stopped. But I mean, as a whole, when they first started, they were just very innocent, and they kind of, you know, but you know, you have to, when you deal with children, sometimes you have to learn how to be a child. So you have to know how to be a child in order to help them and relate to them. Because there was times when I would get a new toy, I had no idea how it worked, so I thought, I'll just put this down on the floor, and I'll sit back, and they show me how to do it. You know, I couldn't figure out how to work that toy, and I'd look, oh, so that's how it works. But, you know, so that's why, you know, I enjoyed a lot of the children's things, because I had to relate to the children.
Yes.
You know, and a lot of times same thing when I did VBS, I always had Brianna Corbin to come and help me, because what I liked, I had to understand, it's not about what I like, it's what's about the kids. And so I would pick the songs that I thought they would like, and then I would get her, and we'd pick out the same songs. So you have to be, if you're going to work with children, you have to be in tune with them. It's not about what you like. Same thing when I picked a theme. It's not what I like. I got to figure out, will the kids like this? It's like with your puppet songs. Will the kids? Sure, there's favorite I like, but it's not about me. Yeah. It's about the kids. Yes. So that's why I like the Power Rangers, because the kids love it.
That's wonderful. Lessons from Sister Tyler and the Power Rangers. That's all I got. You got anything else?
I don't. I'll just get over here to say that Sister Tyler is very special to us. And thank you so much for doing this with us. And these are words we're going to hold on to. Even the things about the Power Rangers. Now I want to find vintage Power Rangers. Like, I need a t-shirt. So anyway, thank you for watching. And thank you, Sister Tyler. And thank you, Sister Hannah, for manning all those questions. You did a great job. She came up with the questions herself. So I'm just a camera phone. But anyway, thank you guys.
Oh, before you turn off, I also want to thank everybody for the wonderful things that they said on the Facebook. Those were really wonderful things. But I feel like that all of that goes to God, because God showed me favor, and if He hadn't did a lot of things, if God hadn't been in my life, a lot of those things I would not have been able to accomplish. So God gets the glory for all of those. But I do appreciate everything that you said. That was very wonderful. But I give God the glory, because God gave me favor, and when God gives you favor, you can do anything.